This is Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wacey. Episode 23 is brought to you by the Canadian Finals Rodeo, October 30th to November 4th in Red Deer, Alberta. A week-long celebration of everything rodeo. There will be events on and off site that will have you kicking up your heels. For more information, visit cfrreddeer.ca.
We're coming to you live from the kitchen.
Seems like this is the first time we've been together for a while for a podcast.
Did you miss me?
Sure.
Yeah, I guess.
We can go with that. If that makes you feel good.
I don't really care. It's whatever.
You asked, so.
So what we've been up to, though, I guess, so where was I last week when we did the podcast?
I was in the tunnels of Moose
You were
Jaw.
in the tunnels of Moose Jaw. That's right. I forgot about the tunnels of Moose Jaw.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't sure how that was going to go over.
They got some good feedback on that. Some of my buddies like that one.
We're back home.
Back at the headquarters.
Back at HQ.
Snowed in.
Well, not really.
Last week I was snowed in.
Yeah, you guys were snowed in. I wasn't around when the snowed inness happened.
There's literally 2 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah, it was. I heard it was bad.
It sucked.
Heard it was rough. You guys lost a lot of good men in Nam, eh?
Lost a lot of good flowers.
Flowers all died.
Yeah, it was not nice. Like, I went outside to go shovel, and I just wanted to go back inside and just say,
yeah,
nope, I don't want to
did a pretty good job. There's not a lot of snow.
There's nowhere to. The worst part about shoveling snow in town is there's nowhere to put it.
That's true.
Like,
you got to
just
shovel it a long ways to get to the disposal zone.
Yeah, it's the worst.
We do have a pretty big front yard.
Yeah, but just
Got to
like
push it around quite a
But
bit.
who wants to push 2 feet of snow from?
But who wants to push it that far?
Not me.
Not Wacey. He's not gonna do it.
No, it just seems like working. You got to work smarter, not harder. And that seems like
That's
working
true.
harder for I can.
You can
figure
cover
it
up the tomatoes now. They're done.
out. Yeah, I'm probably gonna. Well, hopefully we get a break from the snow here.
Actually, it's supposed to warm up. Not gonna lie.
Weather reports, Calgary.
For those of you that
if you're coming to Calgary anytime soon, don't come until next week.
yeah, it's gonna warm up on Tuesday.
It'll be nicer.
By the time you listen to this podcast, it's gonna warm up. It's gonna be awesome.
A little bit of Indian summer action, hopefully.
Yeah, I guess. So
If you want to call it that.
And speaking of Indian summer, Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving.
just finished up.
Oh, did you get some turkey in you?
No, actually, I made some soup yesterday.
Turkey time?
That was it. We had Dustin over for Friendsgiving on Monday.
With soup.
Friendgiving, only one came over.
Yeah, we only. Yeah.
He just came for the
friend.
food. He just came for the
You
food.
didn't even say that long. You just
He just came for
a
the
bowl of
soup.
You
And he gone.
ate and ran. Brought his stinky socks in here.
Yeah, they were bad.
I haven't. I
Ugh,
didn't smell
so
it at
bad.
first, and then after I started smelling. After he was done his soup.
Oh,
like,
it was bad.
that was rancid.
It was real. He hadn't changed his socks in like 4 days.
If Dustin comes by your place in the next couple weeks, make sure he keeps his shoes on.
Tell him to put let him keep his shoes on,
or have a spare set of socks for him.
Yeah, the kid needs some socks, and just check those socks at the door next time, Eddie.
Hey. Yeah, that was not nice. The worst part is
It was
like the
real
worst
bad.
part about that situation though is you can't smell your own brand, so he didn't know.
He didn't even know.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
He did it at the end though. He like give him a sniff. He's like, oh, that was
Because we
bad.
got in his head about it. He's like, oh, okay, these guys.
Yeah, and he knew.
There's
Then
obviously
he knew.
something stinking.
What would you rather, stinky feet or stinky breath?
For life or just
Yeah.
for a day?
For just forever.
I think stinky feet because you can hide stinky feet a lot better than stinky breath.
It's true.
Because you can just put shoes on or wear slippers.
It's true. You could just chew gum or have a mint. Wouldn't work.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I already have stinky feet sometimes, so I'm just gonna go with.
I think
the feet
every
one.
dude ever has stinky feet.
You're probably right.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'd probably go stinky feet just because you get up and close with a lot of people and you don't
That's
always have
true.
a mint or a gum on hand.
That was a bad would you rather.
That actually was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was mine. I don't mind that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Thanksgiving, my dad turned 75 on Friday, October 5th.
Big 7-5.
Had a big party for him. He wasn't sure about the party thing, but we're like, Dad, you're gonna get way more scotch if we have the party at your house.
Yeah.
Turned out he got 5 jugs. Pretty good haul.
Jugs.
Pretty good haul of scotch. That'll supply him for like 2.5 weeks. It's perfect.
2.5 weeks. That'll keep him going for a couple days.
He'll be all right. Happy birthday to Pa, though. That was pretty cool. And come home back here on Saturday and read a couple books on the weekend and kind of
like 2 whole books.
relaxed. It was nice.
That's pretty good, man.
We got a new mixer. So newly
That's a
acquired.
Huge play.
New acquisition to HQ and the podcast, a new mixer. I even did some
Some red greening.
mixer surgery on it. Did some crafting.
It's got a custom handle, custom chrome-plated handle.
Chrome handle comes complete with a roll of tape to put new stuff on it. So
Wow.
it's pretty slick.
So if you see Teddy looking good with his new mixer,
Yeah,
That's
taking
why.
her to Abbotsford this weekend. Going to be a dandy.
damn.
Oh yeah. All right. So what else do we got? This is
Get down to it. Thanksgiving episode.
Usually the FCA finals is on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But now it's a little bit later.
That's strange.
Yeah.
Still different, hey?
So it's not strange. It's good.
How does it affect
heard
the
they had a
Sunday,
good crowd.
the Sunday fun day?
I heard they still had a good crowd. Sunday, I don't know. I haven't been to it for a while. Maybe we'll go this year. You want to go?
No.
You don't? Okay. I'll be ready to just watch foosball by the weekend, I think. So
Yeah,
by Sunday.
I
got a pretty big week coming up.
yeah. It's CFR and stuff's getting close enough.
Oh, yeah.
Don't need to go to Red Deer twice. There's enough trips to Red Deer.
Working the cutting this weekend. This week.
That'd be pretty fun.
Stampede. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Some cool
Sean's come
horses
down on the
there.
weekend. Yeah, it's pretty fun actually. It's all day. It's kind of like different. I have a real job again. I leave the house here at 6:45. Got to be down there for 7:30 and there all day, just working. Sun's up, I'm working. Sun's down, I'm still working.
Sometimes he's still working.
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day. He could not be working.
Depends on the day.
Most nights he's working.
But after the FCA finals, next week, CCA finals.
Yeah, the old CCA.
Wacey, 2014 CCA bull riding
Champ. The champ is in the
Champion.
house.
champion. Where's your saddle at?
My mom and dad's.
It's at your mom and dad's?
Yep.
I got a saddle from the Wild Rose finals. It's at my dad's house.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'll have to get it somewhere once I get my own place.
Someday.
Sometime, whenever.
Once I get my own place, I might do that too. There's no space in my house
There's
for
no
saddles.
space in your own place right now, no.
No. Someday I'll do it though.
That's exciting. The CCA final is always a good time.
Mm-hmm. Gonna be a decent one on Old Speedy Creek.
You're out there too, eh?
Going tour at Speedy Creek.
Are you
be a good one.
Are you gonna go to Living Sky Casino for a few spins?
Oh, I'll probably go for a few spins at the Living Sky. It's gonna be a dandy.
I went to the casino this weekend for a bit at the
Oh
Flames
yeah?
game. It was good.
Yeah?
I really enjoyed it. I
And you broke into the house at 3 a.m. That's pretty
That's
good.
usually what happens. We got
Just
in.
had some nugs on the kitchen table.
Oh man, I was
There's
not.
probably particles of nugs on my new mixer because it was out still.
No, I was far away from it. I was just I was in rough shape at that point. It was
Then the week after that, MFR.
the MFR.
It's not the NFR, it's the MFR.
the Brandon MFR.
It's gonna be a dandy.
That's always a good time. I miss going out there.
And then after that, we get right home from there and go right into CFR. CFR 45, Red Deer, Alberta,
Be there.
October 30th, November 4th.
Yeah, that's
We've got the musical acts out now. Lindsay L., Chris Buckband, Emerson Drive, and Captain Tractor. You know what they sing?
What do they sing?
What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor?
That's your favorite song. This is Ted's ringtone.
What? Early in the morning.
That'll be Ted early in the morning after
That's
the
a-
Captain Tractor.
That's going to be the theme
concert.
song of the CFR.
What do you do with a drunken Teddy?
They'll probably change it for What Do You Do with a Drunken Cowboy?
They could do that. That's got legs.
Yeah, that could work, eh?
So-
And The Last Saskatchewan Pirate. You said that the Arrogant Worms did
yes,
it.
they did it.
Who wrote it?
I don't know who wrote it, but
Somebody get back to us.
I
We
know
need
it
to
is
figure
arrogant.
out
It's
who
an Arrogant
wrote-
Worm song, man.
Who wrote The Last Saskatchewan Pirate?
Who is the first person? Who is it?
Who wrote The Last Saskatchewan? I'm going to ask the Google. Who wrote The Last Saskatchewan Pirate? Arrogant Worms.
Buddy, I'm from Saskatchewan.
I guess it's like that is your anthem.
That's our anthem. We play it before every hockey game. Play it-
Captain Tractor cover version of the Worms' Last Saskatchewan Pirate.
There you go.
Where are the Arrogant Worms from?
They're Canadian guys.
Oh, they
They
are.
have a song after this is over. They have a song. It's called "Me Like Hockey." You would like it. It's pretty
Really?
fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen to
Learning
it on
some
the
new
way.
stuff.
Listen on the way to the Riverstone.
Learning some new music on a Tuesday night in Cowtown. But that's going to do it for segment number 1. Cowboy Shit. Episode number 23. Holy Santa Claus shit.
It's almost as old as me. 25.
Wacey's episode number 25 going to be right before the PBR World Finals,
It's gonna
November
be all about me.
maybe. We'll be back after this with CEO of the PRCA, Mr. George Taylor.
You're listening to Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wacey. Episode 23 is brought to you by the Canadian Finals Rodeo from October 30th to November 4th in Red Deer, Alberta. It's going to be a wild 10-day celebration you do not want to miss. Make sure to get your tickets now at cfrreddeer.ca.
George Taylor from the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, the PRCA, joining us this afternoon. You say it's snowing today in Colorado, same as it is here.
Yeah, a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, cool, so we're getting it all in a single day, I think.
We had a foot of snow the other day. It's kind of,
Wow.
not ideal, but it's kind of melting a little bit here and there, and I don't know. It's
Yeah.
what it is when we live in this part of the country.
Perfect.
I want to ask you first, Mr. Taylor, what drew you to the position of CEO of the PRCA? I'm curious about how the position came about. What Was it someone that came and found you, or did you apply, or like, I don't even know how it all happened. So
yeah, it's a very serendipitous story if I really went into it, the long version, but I won't do that. I'll let you ask me some more questions. But at the end of the day, you know, a headhunter called me and asked me, you know, hey, is this something you would consider? And, you know, I quickly told her that I hadn't had a lot of rodeo experience. I certainly had never competed, and I had been to a few, but, you know, I really was a business guy at the end of the day. And, you know, from my viewpoint, I was interested because we always loved the West and the culture of the West, and had spent a lot of time out in the Colorado area. You know, over a period of 13 years, we had made this our second home. But I'd say more broadly, you know, at the end of the day, we were reading a book, and in my previous job, I had a lot of responsibilities for sports and entertainment. But I was reading a book written by a headhunter that was involved with sports and entertainment. And he really said, when you're looking for your work, you should think about three things. And those three things were, do something you love with people you love in a place you love. And I wasn't sure rodeo was that. But as I went through the process, you know, you don't have to be around the rodeo people very long before you say, hey, these are cool people to be around. And rodeo is certainly a very appealing kind of thing for people who are drawn to the West and animals and competition and being in a place you love. Well, we already knew we loved the West. And so at the end of the day, that was that combination of being engaged with sports and entertainment, being able to grow something, but then those higher level questions, doing what you love with people you love in a place you love, we were able to check those boxes. And that's really what drew us there.
Going back to your previous careers, would you tell us more about your background with IBM and Caterpillar?
Yeah, I sure can. I was a computer science major at university, and I maybe an early adopter. That would have been in the early 80s, you know, and IBM was really the Google and the Facebook of our time during that time. And I always had a dream to work at IBM as a computer science guy, and had an opportunity to join them right out of college, and started off in the technical area and then got involved in marketing and sales and management. And my last position I had there was as the client executive responsible for all of Caterpillar's business with IBM worldwide. And they were a top 25 customer at the time for IBM. And that's how I got to know people at Caterpillar, and found myself in a position where Caterpillar offered me a job in the strategy and acquisitions area, and started doing that with them. They got involved with sales and marketing and working with the Caterpillar dealers as a representative from Caterpillar, and had a number of different leadership positions on both the engine and the machine side of the business. Worked some with finning up in your part of the world. And then I became an officer of the company and ultimately ran a significant portion of the business for Caterpillar and aftermarket side and some large organizations. And then I became the chief marketing officer of Caterpillar and had responsibility for the brand. And like I said earlier, the sports and entertainment elements of Caterpillar's business, and worked a lot with innovation and technology. It was almost like I had come full circle from IBM again. Then I also had responsibility there for Cat Venture Capital, which was working with Silicon Valley companies and those types of things. And I retired from there last July. So, you know, in a nutshell, about 34 years of my life between those two companies.
And now you've been at the PRCA since the 22nd of January. And I'd like to know what your vision for the sport of rodeo is. As the biggest organization in rodeo, one of the biggest with the PBR in the Western sports business. But what's your vision with the sport of rodeo? Where do you see it going?
What I would tell you at a high level first is kind of really about our mission and what we view our role in sport of rodeo is, and at the PRCA. And it's really about bringing membership and the sport together. You know, it's relatively fractured, I'd say, you know, for a small sport, but we really want to unify our membership and expand that membership around driving an innovative fan experience to grow the sport exponentially and provide opportunities for people that are involved with it as a result of that. So, that's what we think, kind of where we fit in the ecosystem. But, our vision really is very much focused on trying to have the best cowboys with the best rodeos involved, driving that fan experience while positively impacting our communities and embracing the spirit of the West, and continue to drive that as we go forward.
How has that been going so far, and which agreement or gain are you most proud of in your first 9 months now at the helm of the PRCA?
I think at the highest level, it's about just the success we've had bringing people back together. And the American is now is working with the PRCA. Colorado Springs, which was our own hometown rodeo, wasn't working with the PRCA at the time, so we've been successful working that. But it's really about getting people to come together around a vision to really drive the sport forward. And I've been very encouraged at the acceptance that we've had around that. So this idea around unifying people, and there's a great commercial actually, and I think it's about two animals at the end of the day, but they're different animals, but they're together, right? And so for me, I think one of the best ending points of that, and it's about the operating system that run on all the non-iPhones, and it really talks about being together but not the same. And I think that's an important part of what we as a sport need to do. We've got to learn to be together. We've got to learn to work on fan experience, but it doesn't mean we all have to be the same. So I think, us all recognizing that and being able to move forward and grow the sport without feeling like everybody needs to be identical is a really important attribute.
As you mentioned, you've already brought back the American. What are your thoughts on sanctioning the Calgary Stampede again? And what challenges do you face with sanctioning these large rodeos like the American? And another one would be Houston.
Yeah, and, we're super interested in working to do that, and we think it's part of bringing the sport back together. And, it's really about trying to drive a balance between a committee who's making a huge investment and what the Cowboys would like to see, and bringing those two people in the same room with a common objective around ultimately providing a unique fan experience for those people who are actually buying the tickets and providing the revenue for the sport. So I think historically that trying to drive that marriage actually drove people apart. But I think if we can get to the point where we have a common denominator, which is to drive the fan experience, that can only be healthy for both the committee and for the Cowboy contestants at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, we need fans to buy tickets to make this thing work. So
right.
I agree. We got to have to put the fans first.
We've had a lot of discussion. There's always been a term in the PRCA, which I respect, which is we're a member-driven organization, and certainly what we're trying to do is benefit our members. But the path to get there is an important one, and sometimes people misconstrue being member-driven as you're only focused on the needs of the member. But what you've got to really focus on is what drives revenue that allows you to meet the needs of that member. And for us, it's about putting on rodeos, right?
It almost isn't about putting on the rodeos, though, for the PRCA, as you guys are the sanctioning body. So there's kind of a, I would want to say maybe a disconnect there where you guys are sanctioning them, but you're not necessarily putting them on. Right. Like right. You guys don't have a control on the product, which is like, that's got to be a big challenge too, where you don't actually have a real handle on the actual product that's going out.
Right. It's bringing those committees together who have a very strong sense of what will sell with a contestant that is also necessary in order to have a rodeo and the livestock, right? So it's about bringing all those people together to satisfy the fan at the end of the day. And that's how you get to benefit your members. And our members are both committees and Cowboys. So it's about us trying to drive that collaboration to the point where we do something really special for a fan.
What are some of the next steps there? What do you have to do to make this happen?
Well, ultimately, it always is about getting the two groups or the parties in the room together, right? And we try to broker that relationship, whether it's with Calgary or whether, the American. It was about, hey, how can we all focus on the same thing and do something really special for the fan. And then there's always some give and take in that relationship, because different parts of the world require different things in order to be successful. Depending on where you are, certain fans like to see certain things, and we just got to recognize that and try to move it forward.
As a former marketing executive yourself with one of the biggest companies on the planet, as far as I know, what do you think will help make rodeo more marketable?
You know, at the end of the day, I think it's about storytelling. And sometimes we think it's only about the competition. And you don't have to watch very many programs on television to understand that it's about the power of the story you can tell. And maybe it's an underdog story you tell about an athlete who came from the inner city and has been fighting against all odds to become successful. Maybe it's about an athlete who's had a tragedy in their life in some way, shape, or form, or, you know, those types of things. And at the end of the day, marketing and athletics is about storytelling. And what are the stories that you can tell around that sport that touch people's hearts? There's a bit of and I won't get this quote exactly right, but it's Maya Angelou. She says something to the effect of, hey, people won't remember what you say. They'll forget what you do, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And our sport makes people feel certain things, and it could be the prayer before we start. It could be the national anthem for which everybody is singing and respecting. It could be any variety of those things. So it's really about getting people to understand and know the sport of rodeo through storytelling.
How do you plan to tell those stories as well?
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of that is around how we run the events and how we broadcast them. And I think one of the better organizations at telling stories is the Olympic movement at a high level. You know, when the Winter Olympics were in Calgary, you learned a lot about Calgary and the stories of the athletes and those types of things. And so some of it is in the production and media coverage, which we're driving more focus on. How do we do that? And that is where a lot of that real power. So we got to touch the fans that are in the stands, but you also have to do the same thing through media. And those are the things, a couple of the things that we're very focused on.
What has your year been like so far as CEO of the PRCA?
Well, it's been a learning year for sure, right? As I said early on, I didn't come from a great, rich history of competing in rodeo and the NFR and being involved putting rodeos on. So, you know, it's really been focused on the people and getting to know the committees and getting to know the cowboys and as many of the committees as possible. So it's been a lot of time on the road and understanding the people and what they think will make it work and how we can grow the sport and have it go on for another 80 or 90 years. So, you know, it's really been about learning and putting to practice the great things that I learned through my 30 plus years out in industry as a business guy to think about how can we begin to drive revenue and satisfy customers/fans in this business in order to have it continue on.
As part of your vision and with the PRCA, what other changes might we expect in the coming years?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. You know, at a high level, I think I've kind of alluded to this. You know, one of our strategic areas of improvement is to become better known. And rodeo is certainly known. We have a base of fans of, 43 or 44 million people that would say they're a rodeo fan, which is interesting. We'll have 6 million people, over 6 million people attend a PRCA rodeo during the year. But interestingly, there's not a lot of people outside of rodeo that can identify the characters, the locations, you know, all those types of things. So how do we become better known? You know, and the power of personalities in the sport, we've got to continue to leverage. So a big piece of what we are focused on is driving a growing base of fans and being the undisputed best at what we do. So that's one high-level thing. The other thing we're trying to look at is how do we leverage and drive and improve and expand our digital experiences for our fans and our membership. So, if you want to track rodeo, it's hard to know where Sage Kinsey's going to be next week. It's hard to get reports on how did he perform, or if I want to know what the season's like for these Cowboys, how do we do that? And we think we can do a better job of that on the digital front and having people better understand the sport. We have an initiative called Boots of the Cowboy, and that focus is around having people understand the statistics around the sport. How fast is the horse going when the cowboy jumps off it to wrestle the steer? What's the G-forces being generated by a bull that's spinning? How high did the horse buck? All those types of things that drive fan engagement. Those are two areas that broadly we're trying to drive a better fan experience and more knowledge and awareness of the sport.
I want to mention the NFR before we jump off the phone call here. I'm not sure if anything or if many things will be different there with Boyd running the finals this year, but I'm curious about that too. Will anything maybe be different there at the NFR this year under Boyd's, leadership?
Yeah, well, I think, Sean is still firmly in the driver's seat there, and Boyd's there learning from Sean. And next year will be Boyd's first year with his hands on the steering wheel. And Sean will be there observing and helping in that transition. And I think all the great things Sean brought to the rodeo, certainly as a transition occurs with a new leader, there will no doubt be changes. But there aren't any imminent changes for this year, and I don't think we've really identified the next ones. But change for an organization is always absolutely critical. You're either changing and becoming more responsive to the needs of your fans, or else you maybe could be dying, So I think change will be a part of our story in the sport as we go forward so that we better meet the needs of the customers who buy the tickets.
What changes do you think would be most important in the next few years here?
Well, I think, we talked a little bit about on the media side in particular, so it's less about the in-game or in-venue experience. We talk a lot about media and telling stories, and you can do some unique things with media that in the coverage that will certainly show that. But in the venue, I think I would expect to see more technology. I would expect acts to change, but at the end of the day, it's, when you go to a rodeo, you expect to see great athletes competing on great livestock, and I think that will always be a core element of it. There'll be new pieces of technology that will help you experience it better. There might be a fantasy element to it or those types of things. So it's going to be the marriage of that physical event with digital experiences as well that enhance it.
I recently read something, maybe in a rules segment, but it said that the American next year, $50,000 will count to the standings. That's part of the agreement. But will there be maybe a point system at some point, or do you think it might be easier to go that route, or will we stay with the money system, or what do you think that way for standings? And
I think money is always going to be important, but when it comes to standings, I think we're one of the few sports that still would be on a dollar count. And, these biggest rodeos really kind of emphasize the impact of, the idea when you put somebody into the highest level finals like the NFR, you want to make sure it's the best cowboy who competed against the best competition on the best livestock and was successful the most often. That ought to be the people that are represented there, not somebody who won one single rodeo and happened to be enough to get them qualified. So I think those big rodeos sometimes drive that impact, and we've got to make sure that, our point system, if you will, reflects that best athlete achieving and getting to the finals and winning. And so, we're going to experiment this year with a point system for the 60 largest rodeos that are part of our tour. And, I think that will give us a good idea and give us an opportunity to experiment with that for our finals that we hold in Puyallup this year.
And will that be something public, or will that be will there be another set of standings for that the public can see?
Yeah, there will be a tour standings on those 60 rodeos that will be points based.
Very cool. That was something that was kind of done this year with maybe 15 or 20 rodeos.
Yeah, there was 22 rodeos on the tour.
Okay.
But, I would say it was a little bit less sophisticated. We'll go deeper at each rodeo in terms of giving out points. And if you finish, just for argument's sake, if you finish 35th at a very large rodeo, you're going to get some points, but it's going to be significantly different than the guy who wins it, right?
Okay. And how is that system being? How is it coming to life? I guess who's making it up, and how's it happening?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time researching different point systems. We looked at tennis, system. We looked at the PGA system. We looked at NASCAR. We looked at World Surfing. We looked at PBR. And so we did a lot of evaluation of different approaches, and we developed one that we thought made sense based on looking at all these other sports that were engaged in point-based systems, and adapted one and developed it, and we're finalizing it right now during the month of October with input from our committees and from our contestants both. And that will be what we use for the tour this year. As we go forward, we'll adapt it based on how that all works. And if you think about this, a lot of people think it's only the biggest rodeos that are driving this change. But, just for argument's sake, is a $5,000 per event payout rodeo twice as good as one that pays $2,500, or half as good as one that pays $10,000? So that's been a lot of the discussion, is, again, making sure that your point system reflects accomplishment against the best competition in the most high-stress circumstances. So that's what's driving it. Dollars doesn't always do that for us.
Okay. That was really cool to hear about. I didn't know that was the way things are going, so I appreciate you sharing that with us and letting us know about it. And we'll let you get back to work, but we sure appreciate your time, Mr. Taylor. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, and hopefully everybody enjoys a rodeo. Get to the NFR. Thank you so much for your time.
You betcha. We'll see you there in a couple of weeks, I guess. It's only a month and a bit now, so.
Perfect.
You're listening to Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wacey.
When you were talking about throwing up, what was the sound? Oh dear.
I don't want to hurt my throat. A little bit.
Episode 23 is brought to you by the Canadian Finals Rodeo in Red Deer, Alberta, happening from October 30th to November 4th. The best rodeo competitors across North America are coming to us, so you definitely do not want to miss it. For details, visit cfrreddeer.ca.
Thanks to Mr. Taylor for being on the show today.
He seems like an interesting guy.
I like. What do you think about the point system for the PRCA here coming up in future years? Well, next year.
I think
it'll work?
If they get it right, I think it'll be fine.
I think it's got to be simple for one. It's got to be something people can follow. I don't know what they're going to do, if it's going to be like per round at different rodeos, or if it's going to be like just a total payout, or what it's going to look like. I'm curious to see how it works. But the PBR now, it's something that we can kind of follow. Like, I kind of know what the point breakdown is. In Canada, we know if we win a velocity, or you win in a touring pro, you win 60 points. You win a monster, you win 120 points. So I think it's got to be followable so people understand it. And then, proportionately got to work out.
Yeah,
that
it's got to work
too.
out. Like, he made a good point where he says, like, it's got to work out too, like, where the guy who's doing the winning is still the guy.
Consistently.
It's got to be consistent.
Because you can't just go win Calgary and make the NFR, which is I understand, like, it's a good point. Or you win the American, you make the NFR, basically. Like, you got to win every week. You got to win,
Yeah. Well, I'll be taking a guy away from a guy who goes to that 80 rodeos or 100 rodeos you got to go to to make the finals and doesn't make it.
Yeah.
I think
where it'll be interesting with a guy like Jake Vold that goes to 35 rodeos and make the finals, but will he make the finals on the point system? I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know.
But will it be good for guys to keep going, or make them go more or less, or what do you think?
I don't know. I think it's going to be come down to the breakdown and how many points are available at each level, like each level of rodeo. Because you're going to have like your A class rodeos, your B class rodeos, your C class rodeos kind of thing, right? Where it's going to be like...
It might play into Jake's hand, because he might be able to go to less rodeos and still win at those rodeos and get enough points to go.
Just it, yeah.
And then if he wins every time, it's okay. And then he'll be closer to a guy like O'Connell at the finals for not going to as many rodeos.
Yeah, I think maybe that would be the key to like keeping guys healthier too. Like you'd see guys aren't busting their ass going to 100 rodeos. And
just to get the
being so
trying to win some more
being
money.
so banged up. Yeah,
that's
good.
true.
I think it's good too. Like kind of drifting away from that point is having a guy who has like an outside looking in perspective on rodeo.
That's true.
In the mix, it's easy to bring someone in who has been involved and been around it forever.
Yeah.
And but then you get someone he looks at it from different angles, which maybe some people wouldn't do it. So I think that's it's pretty healthy move for the PRCA.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
definitely.
Interesting to see what the next few years looks like and what happens with PRCA rodeo.
Speaking of NFR, PRCA, 6 Canadians going to the Wrangler NFR if you haven't heard yet. And they are Oren Larson, Curtis Cassidy, Scott Ginthner, Clay Elliott, Zeke Thurston, and Carmen Posabon.
Nice, a barrel racer.
Yep. Zeke, Clay, Scott, Curtis, and Oren have all been before. Carmen's first trip, first barrel racer since Deb Renger in 2015. Oren, though, we did a little bit of research.
Number crunching.
This is his 4th consecutive NFR appearance, which ties him with Davy Shields Jr. and Dale Trotter for the 4th most amount among Canadian bareback riders.
Nice.
Jim Dunn is 3rd with 7 qualifications. Number 2 is Steve Dunham, 8 qualifications.
Wow.
Which 5 of them were in a row. And that's the most of any Canadian. So if Oren gets 2 more, he breaks that record. But Robin Burwash, number 1 of Canadian bareback riders making the NFR, made it 9 different times between 1983 and 1994.
It's pretty damn good.
Pretty impressive. So Oren up there in some pretty cool
he's
territory.
And he's in the mix. Like he could
Oh yeah, goes in number 4 in the world.
Yeah. We got a few guys that are.
Yeah, he's in contention. Curtis Cassidy's season leader, number 1. Bulldog and
Scott's 3rd, isn't he?
Yeah, Bulldog and so tight though. It just matters what happens in Vegas. But it's awesome for him to be right at the top. Zeke Thurston's right up there.
Striking distance.
Clay Elliott's within 60,000, which is only 2.5 rounds. Carmen's down there. I believe she made it in 15th spot.
Yeah, I think she's right on there. Yeah.
But barrel racing's, barrel racing's pretty far off. Haley Kinsel's won over 200,000 already.
It's tough, but I mean,
she made it.
Can happen, yeah.
That's pretty damn cool.
She go down there and win a few rounds and make some money.
Exactly. And for those that don't know, Carmen is a cousin of Ty Posabon.
It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. So you'll see that Posy 23 on her hat this NFR. But speaking of coming events, CFR 45 coming up soon. Proud sponsor of the podcast.
Friends of the pod.
Friends of the show. Really nice, good friends of the show.
They're good
CFR
friends.
45.
They treat us well.
Also, this weekend, return of the PBR Canada Monster Energy Tour in Abbotsford, British Columbia, October 13th at the Abbotsford Center.
That's usually a heater of an event, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You guys do well.
Last year, was it last year or the year before? Was Lonnie West's first PBR win, and now he's on the tour.
Last year before that's when he went on the heater before the Global Cup when he won all that.
Yeah, exactly. So it goes from winning his first PBR to being on tour now, contending for a Canadian title once again this year in the mix. Lachlan Richardson's number 1 in the PBR Canada standings. See what happens this weekend, but Brock's actually in down south. So
he won't even be around.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens if he'll be around for.
Lachlan's down there too, isn't he?
Yeah, you're right. So Coverchuck's the one.
Yeah,
the door's open if he wants to step through it.
Wide open.
We'll see.
Stay tuned.
Speaking of PBR, on Ride Pass this weekend, watch Dakota Butter smash out another 90-point ride, 90.5 on Rising Sun in the championship round.
That was good to see him have a good weekend. He was
his third 90 of the season. He never had one before, and he got 3 this year. I talked to him yesterday about it, and he said he has that confidence now to go pick those ranked bulls and know that he can ride them.
Oh yeah, he can for sure.
And made him look like he spurred that bull for a 90. And too bad he missed winning the event by half a point. Kaike rode Stuntman Ray and beat him, but.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people saying that it could have went either way, which is that's why we're not judges though.
Exactly.
But no, it's good for him
not
though. Like
judges.
He was like 1 for 10 going into that.
Oh yeah, he had that event.
So to go for 3 for 3 on the best bulls in the world and get some confidence back going into these last few events in the World Finals, like shoot, what more do you want, right? Yeah, exactly.
Pretty awesome.
So Tanner's back this weekend too, isn't he?
I don't know if he's back.
I see him stretching out a boat rope. On Instagram, so
when I talked to him last week, he said he wrecked some tendons or ligaments in his ankle.
Yeah.
So he might not come back to the World Finals based on what he said the other day.
On practice
last
or
week.
something.
Could have been.
I don't know.
Maybe just stretching out a rope. Who knows?
Maybe
might have been a slow Tuesday.
Maybe he's bored in OPA.
Yeah. Could be. You never know.
Yeah.
Brock is still 5 points out of the World Finals.
That's crazy
spot.
how tight it is down there.
Yeah, behind Marcus. Lonnie's a little bit ahead of them. I think
32nd.
How many points ahead is he though?
Ooh, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
He's pretty. He's at least 30 though. I'd say.
Yeah, he's a little bit safe.
Yeah.
Tanner's got it made. Dakota's actually number 13, and he's it's a pretty big jump to get up in the top 10 now.
He's going to have to do another big event.
It's another 300 points to get up to that top 10. So that is one of his goals, though, was to be top 5. So he could still get there this year.
Yeah, it's not out of reach.
Depends on the World Finals. He strings a few rides together there, you can win a ton of points. So.
Yeah, he's got 2 events left. He can do well there. And then the World Finals and anything
And
possible.
Brock was back this weekend. And
he started a couple good rides, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to 7 seconds in the first round, 7 and a bit. Next one, I don't know what he was, maybe 4 or 5, but still started a couple good rides. And Lonnie West, we expect him back probably for the weekend before CFR. And potentially, depending on what happens, I mean, those guys still might have been at the Velocity Finals, depending on what goes down here in the next couple of weeks. So we will see.
Lots of exciting things happening.
Make sure to tune in.
That's my favorite time of year for rodeo.
Oh, it's great. It's awesome. The best time. The greatest time. Thanks for tuning in to episode number 23, though. See you next time.
Bye.
Episode 23 of Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wacey was brought to you by the Canadian Finals Rodeo, happening in Red Deer, Alberta, the new home of the CFR, from October 30th to November 4th. 10 full days of thrilling Western entertainment. It's a show you don't want to miss. For details, visit cfrreddeer.ca.